Hey, welcome back to the Bruce Poinsette Show. We do this B block, and you know, as you might be aware, we're kind of a fan of the nerd culture things.
Very true.
And right now, we're living in a time of the streaming services. We've got almost it feels like an oversaturation of shows now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not even going to say an oversaturation necessarily, because some people I've talked to are like, "Oh my god, I'm overwhelmed." Miss Marvel and Obi-Wan come out on the same day. What am I gonna do? Now, me, I used to be an avid watcher of the CW or the Arrowverse,
As
which
was I.
means they had at one point, what was it like? You had like Black Lightning, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, The Flash, Arrow, all on the same week.
Yes.
Like
Some on the same day as well.
Yeah, because like I feel like at first they tried to spread it out over the different days, and it was like 5 days a week, and then they bunched them up into three. I don't know what they do now, but all I know is that you had like 5 hours of not great TV, but it had its moments.
Yeah.
And there was a while where I was really committed. So when people are like, "Oh my goodness, you have 2, maybe even 3 shows if you're watching different services coming out in a week," it's manageable.
It's manageable. Especially in you saying this and me knowing the topic that we're going to break into, I think the Arrowverse was a really good opening point because nonetheless, the quality right now is unmatched.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like the topic has been not just the oversaturation, but is it hurting the quality of the shows? And I feel like we're both kind of in some agreement that it's a bit of a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
You have certain shows like, The Boys, or, Harley Quinn, or even now, like, I think Miss Marvel most recently, where they're pretty much like more or less like universally lauded.
Yeah.
They're doing great
They're doing
things,
the
but
thing.
then you also have, and again, my apologies to Ambush because I didn't mean for it to break out this way, but a lot of DC shows that are oh, go ahead.
Very specifically, because DC, like Peacemaker was great.
True.
Obviously,
true.
we said Harley Quinn.
There are others. For example, Titans, where it's like I watch Titans religiously. Don't get me wrong.
Yes,
but seasons 3 started out very strong, and then and then the series that really might get me, this commentary might get me banned from the studio, but we're gonna go with it anyway. I have an affinity for Young Justice, but it has come to the point we gotta talk about the writing. We have to.
Sorry, Ambush.
No, it's about all right. I understand.
Okay.
Like, the first, like, when I first started watching Young Justice, however many years ago, and I caught up late, like a lot of people, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it was like an extension of, what was it, Justice League Unlimited, and sort of like the last, for those who aren't familiar with Dwayne McDuffie, who was like the architect behind
the early DC like animated universe.
Yeah, and even before that with the Milestone Comics, specifically like, comic book character, not just comic book characters of color, but like, iconic people like
Static.
Exactly, like Static, like
Icon,
Rocket. So, and just like really, not just putting these characters out there, because it wasn't just like some, oh, we're, swapping Superman for a black person. Like, for example, like Icon, because that was like the Superman kind of like character, but with Icon, it was this alien that came through, landed during slavery, and the first person he saw was an enslaved black man, so that was the form he took.
Yes.
And then he came into the president, met Rocket, who it's like the master of the technology, but then was also like, you know, had this extended teen pregnancy storyline, and they were able to like delve into a lot of things about like just culture and depth of story that people weren't doing. And then, like I said, he ended up, like you said, he took that to early DC, like late 90s TV, and then really blew it up with Justice League Unlimited, where it wasn't just like the Justice League, but also these characters from Milestone, and just like expanded the universe,
Very much
diversified the universe. And again, the way he wrote and the way like he influenced others around him to write, there's a level of depth in covering stuff beyond just the regular superhero fare, like covering culture, covering, you know, socioeconomics and stuff. They did in a way that was both like kind of subtle, like it, but it also got the point across, and it was like, it's just great storytelling.
Yes.
And I forget off the top of my head which year Dwayne McDuffie passed.
As do I.
But, you know, he passed unexpectedly, and I want to say like, that'd be like around like 2010.
Yeah. I would say around the time Young Justice was coming out is when he passed. I remember seeing a lot about that.
Exactly. But, you know, when Young Justice did come out, like you could definitely still feel that it kept expanding the universe, and it still had that depth. Like,
yes,
you know, just like I loved it. But like when you first saw Young Justice, like what were your thoughts when you first, you know, got that experience?
I was a very early watcher. Like I remember the premiere, the release. I remember the exact block. Like this is a very Young Justice is like my favorite television show. Like the first 2 seasons to me are like perfect superhero television. I think because I was the target audience when it came out as well, it was kind of life-changing because we were talking about the episode where they do the mission like in the brain where like everything is fake and then all of them die. And then the next episode is an episode where they go to therapy with Black Canary, and they get to talk about their experience and being a young teen superhero. And at the time, like that had never been done. Like Teen Titans was a really good series that told really fun and serious stories, but Young Justice was the first time that we've ever seen teen superheroes looked at as serious as we had seen the adult superheroes looked at.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I came on to, you know, Young Justice much later, like when it was on Netflix. But you know, I was hooked.
Yes,
and I can't remember if I watched Young Justice before I watched Justice League Unlimited or not. But either way, it was just like I know they just like fit into each other so well, and like you said, like just the way they handled it with that maturity of the storytelling was just something I was not seeing anywhere else, and it was so refreshing. So now that we have
we love this show, we love Young Justice. I feel like we have to preface
that's very,
this is a love letter,
very important. We love Young Justice. We want to see the best for it. We gotta talk about
the relaunch.
Yeah, you know, back I started with the DC app.
The DC app, yeah.
DC Universe, whatever it's called now. It's all on HBO Max.
Yes.
And you can tell we've gotten further away from the McDuffie era in a big way, because like give them credit. They're trying to handle, you know, more mature, more full subjects, but it is. It's heavy-handed.
Heavy-handed.
That's one end.
Yes.
So there's either the heavy-handed side where, you know, we're just gonna stop to, well, now I'm forgetting her name, but
Halo?
Yeah, I think it was Halo. Like, we're just like they stop to have this, you know, this dinner that is unambiguously just talking about, you know, God, I can't even remember exactly what it was because that's how great the writing was. But it's just
I can think of a lot of different moments. Like,
we're just having this social justice talk.
Yes.
That is not, you know, it's not embedded into anything else. And again, you know me.
Yes.
I love the deep stuff. I love the politics, but
Mm-hmm.
like when it's not natural, it feels weird to watch.
It was I think even look at some of the character, like here's the thing. I feel like a lot of times as well, there are people who will say like certain things come off as heavy-handed when they're not.
Mhm.
But this is one of the cases where like even I look at how they told the story of Miss Martian throughout the first 2 seasons and how it was like almost dealing with the topic of race in such an interesting way. Because like if you look at it, Miss Martian was a character who was a minority on her planet and then came to our planet and got to choose what she wanted to be and chose to be white. And that's a lot to unpack. Like that's a really crazy story. But they weren't like, yes, when I came to Earth, I wanted to be a white woman so that I can experience life on the other side. It was just like, that's just what she did. Exactly. While with the new series, I feel like they explain all of the moments that have to do with any type of social commentary very clearly.
Yeah, in writing the concept, so you're supposed to show, not tell.
Yes.
And they do a lot
So much
of telling. And it's not just like, oh, because like I think about, like some comics where, it's not a very subtle trick, but they'll do a lot of the the expository stuff in like it'll be like an action scene, but people will be fighting, but in the bubble they'll be just telling you everything.
Yes.
But at least like some action is happening. In this case, like no, it's like we are bringing it all to a screeching halt, and
standing and talking.
Yeah, we're gonna stand and talk. We're gonna sit at the table, have some orange juice, and really talk this out. It's like, come on,
this is heavy.
Or we'll get into. For those who haven't seen the season yet, I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
But, there's some things happen that are, sad. And the way you have people processing and dealing with their grief is like, okay, in the end credits, we're just going to have Miss Martian recite poetry.
Yes.
And it's like, oh yeah, this is... Or, read some of the books you probably remember from high school English.
Yes.
Like, at one point, she did A Tale of Two Cities, and I hate A Tale of Two Cities. I do. I really, really do. But that is another rant for another time. And so they do that. And then my third big
gripe,
with the writing is just that they have a character Forager who...
Yes.
Talks, in the third person, but then also I guess like their species, like they're all Forager and not like mini Forager or green Forager. It's just like Forager.
They're just all Forager.
They're all Foragers. So they had 2 Forager characters. And so you get dialogue at some point where it's like 3 minutes of Forager. Is Forager foraging? Forager.
Foraging.
Forager. It's just like, so in addition to the heavy-handed writing in some places, the weird poetry slam end credits, and then just padding out episodes with extra long foraging, forager. It's just like, I want this again. Emphasize again. We love Young Justice.
Love this show.
We want this to do well, but my goodness,
it is rough.
We gotta come on.
I think I've spent a lot of time because, like, again, Young Justice is one of my favorite things to come out of superhero things ever, and I've spent a lot of time just like now when season 3 dropped, I reluctantly was like, it's fine. And I still think it's fine. Like, it's not that bad. But I think with season 4, an issue struck where I realized in season 1 and 2, they spent a lot of time really working on the characters. Like, giving us the time to really understand our characters. Like even in season 2, when we got introduced to the new cast, like very quickly we got to know Impulse. We very quickly got to know Blue Beetle, the new Red Arrow, the clone. Like we got very clear moments with these characters, which then fed into later on an understanding of like the traumas and struggles that they were going through. Same thing happened in season 1. Each of our characters got moments to interact with each other and interact with their own stories. And with the newer seasons, I've noticed that had started to shift more into like the generalization of these character stories. So like, for example, we get introduced to like a whole new team in season 3 and we barely know anything about them. Like we barely know a lot about Brion. We don't know a lot about Forager. We don't know a lot about Halo. And like we spend a lot of time with them, but like I feel like we didn't get moments to really be with them as the new characters. And like that was something that we got in the last season. And like even characters from the last season, like we still don't know a lot about Wonder Girl, about the new Robin. We haven't gotten a lot of chances to really get to know a lot of people. And this is a universe that is quickly adding new characters to where like you kind of got to catch up. And it's just kind of like, you had such good character development, and I'm not against them adding new characters. I would just say, like, if you're gonna add a bunch of new characters, like, just make them your main cast. Like, I'd much rather be able to let go of Artemis, Zatanna, Megan, Connor, Robin, like, or Dick, and like all the main characters that we've been dealing with. I'm willing to let go of them for better writing and like better character development, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's something I hadn't really like thought about until you kind of just said that, but the way they kind of like doubled, somehow like they expanded the universe, but managed to double down on the focus on not just like the main characters, but let's get real, like the white main characters.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of Megan, a lot of Connor. Not as much Nightwing, but still plenty. You know, and it's just like, give me some more like, let me follow Rocket around some more.
Yeah,
you know,
Static.
It's like you brought Static and Blue Beetle in. Let's hang out with them some more, get to know them.
We have a whole like group of heroes. Like for me, when they initially did The Outsiders, I was like, oh, so this is like the new team that we're following. Like Beast Boy, Wonder Girl, Blue Beetle, Static. I'm forgetting his name, but the kid who has like the jumping powers. I'm losing his name.
It's not
coming
to me,
but like we had all those new characters, and then we obviously had Forager and Halo on the side of things. It's just like we have so many people that like I'm so curious about, and I love our main cast. Like these have all become some of my favorite DC characters ever. Like Calderon in the comics is so different from who we have in this show. And because he's the way that he is in the show, I prefer that version. So like, I love these characters, but I'm also willing to understand that it was like, I fell in love with these characters because when I met them, I didn't know a lot about them. And now we have all these other characters that we don't know a lot about that I'm willing to love. Like I already love Blue Beetle. We got so much time with him. I love Impulse. I love a lot of these characters, but we don't know anything about them. And I'm like, give us more, because Young Justice isn't about the young people anymore. It's about the adults, which love the adults, but it's like the show was built off of dealing with different levels of teen drama. And especially now when they're able to do like this quote unquote rated R content, it's like you can go deeper. Like you can talk about, like, if you're willing to talk about character sexuality, you can really go into that.
Exactly. Like, and I mean, that just got me thinking about, when you talk about the depth of the characters and how you show that, because like you said again, like they introduced all these people, but how much time did we really spend with them and what were they doing? Like you don't remember. It's just like these non-memorable conversations, these little bits and pieces where people are just kind of like going on and doing a thing here. And I think the other thing that comes down to is just when I think about the shows that are working or have worked. We mentioned The Boys. We mentioned Miss Marvel.
Mm-hmm. I would say
Throw-
Invincible.
Yeah, Invincible. You look at Harley Quinn,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I think something that really makes the things that do well, even with a lot of like the Marvel shows,
Yeah.
even though they kind of like they range a little bit, but I think what has made them work so much better is just like they understand genre. They're not just like, yes, they are superhero characters,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very much like it's very genre specific. And with Young Justice, because earlier on you had this point where it's like, okay, we're really taking this to like this is going to be a spy show or like a spy season, and like you get into that and you get into like again understanding genre, understanding like yes, these are superheroes, but superhero like it's like regular people, it's just with powers,
Mm-hmm.
but still like the powers aren't they're part of the story, but they're not the story.
Genre. Yes,
they're not what's guiding the action. So again, just want to one more time.
We love you.
Yeah, we love Young Justice for the audience.
Yes. For any creators who are watching this, please know this is still one of my favorite shows. I go back to season 1 and 2 so often. I've even rewatched season 3. I own all of the first 3 seasons on DVD. Like, I love this show.
We've seen, fact is, things don't last.
Mm-hmm.
And we gotta be real, but I'm just saying this again for the creators, like, do you really want this to, you mentioned the Boondocks earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Boondocks is my, like, I can't tell you how many times, like, I involuntarily just shout out Boondocks references.
Yes.
Like, I have Boondocks Tourette's because of how, like, influential it was on me growing up. And yet, one of the most disappointing things in TV to me was, and granted, Aaron Magruder was gone at this point, but when they tried to do Boondocks season 4, like new writers, and by like the 3rd or 4th episode, the storyline was this Freeman family is being sold into slavery. I was just like, I'm out. I'm done.
Yep.
I still haven't watched the rest of that. I don't plan to.
It's not good.
Don't. Like, we have a lot of legacy talk in this world that gets overblown, but please, I'm begging you, do not let this end like the final thought that people have about Young Justice is Forager.
Yes.
Forager.
Please.
Forager. Don't do that to us, please.
Do it.
Please.
Take your time. Like, next season, just take some time, take some breathing room, get back to the roots, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a series writer. I would love to be. Trust me, if you want to hire me for Young Justice, let me know. Yeah. But just take some time and go back to character writing, less dealing with issues in superhero writing, if that makes sense.
Even if you want to deal with issues, just write it better.
Just write it better.
Like make it a little action based.
Yes.
Weave it into don't sit people down at the table.
Weave it into the story.
To talk about this thing in the most, explaining the ABCs to a wide audience. We don't need that. Give us, you've got characters, you've got Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
You got Static.
Yes.
Blue Beetle.
Halo.
You can get into so much for just going through their lives, and also again spending a little bit less time on white teen melodrama. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yes.
If I don't hear McGann recite poetry again, I'll be all right. Really will.
Can we just go back? I'm just serious. Like, Young Justice was the name, and all of our original team are adults. And I don't think fans would be mad if we were willing to just move on to the next generation.
Amen.